Today we are covering the most overrated school in Hindu philosophy, Advaita Vedanta. So we will examine Advaita through one of its most celebrated introductory texts, the Tattva Bodha. Advaita begins with what it considers the fundamental fact of human existence. Every human being seeks happiness. Everything we pursue, wealth, relationships, knowledge, power, even religious practice is ultimately driven by the desire to overcome limitation and suffering. Yet every achievement proves temporary. One desire is fulfilled only for another to arise. This endless search continues because we seek limitless fulfillment in things that are themselves limited. The problem, therefore, is not a lack of possessions but ignorance of our own nature. If ignorance is the problem, knowledge must be the solution. For this reason, Advaita presents Vedanta not merely as a system of belief or ritual, but as a means of knowledge capable of revealing the true nature of reality. But not everyone is prepared for this inquiry. The Tattva Bodha says a student must first cultivate four qualifications. The first one is Viveka, the ability to distinguish the eternal from the transient. The second is Vairagya, dispassion toward all finite enjoyments whether in this world or the next. The third consists of 6 disciplines: tranquility of mind, control of the senses, withdrawal from unnecessary distractions, endurance in the face of hardship, trust in the teachings of the teacher and the Shastras, and one-pointed concentration. Finally comes Mumukshutva, an intense longing for liberation. These are not moral commandments, these are preparations for philosophical inquiry. Only a disciplined mind, Advaita argues, can recognize what has always been true. This brings us to the central question of the entire system. Who are you? Most people identify themselves with the body, but the body cannot be the self because it is constantly changing. The body of a child, an adult, and an old person are completely different. Yet throughout these changes, one continues to say, I. The same is true of the mind. Thoughts arise and disappear. Emotions fluctuate. Memories fade. Beliefs change. Yet all these changes are known. That raises a profound question. What is it that knows them? Advaita answers with one of its foundational ideas. Because of beginningless ignorance, we identify the self with the body and mind, and the body and mind with the self. This mutual superimposition is called Adhyāsa, and according to Advaita, it is the root of all bondage. To understand this mistake, the Tattva Bodha describes 3 bodies through which experience takes place. The gross body is the physical body composed of the 5 gross elements. The subtle body consists of the 5 organs of perception, the 5 organs of action, the 5 vital forces, the mind and the intellect. It is through this, the body, that we think, feel, perceive and act. Finally comes the causal body, described as beginningless, indefinable and of the nature of avidya or ignorance. It is in the seed state in which avidya remains unmanifest, serving as the causal condition for the gross and subtle bodies. None of these bodies is the self. They are merely the instruments through which experience occurs. The text then introduces another way of analyzing human experience, the 5 koshas or sheaths. The food sheath, the vital sheath, the mental sheath, the intellectual sheath, and the bliss sheath. These are not literal coverings around the self, Rather, they are successive layers with which we mistakenly identify ourselves. Advaita argues that whatever can be observed cannot be the observer. Since each of these sheets can be known, none of them can be our true nature. One of Advaita's most elegant arguments come not from abstract speculation but from ordinary experience. Every day, each of us passes through three states: the waking state, the dream state, and deep sleep. And in the waking state, we experience the external world through the senses. In dreams, an entirely different world appears, created by the mind itself. In deep sleep, neither world remains. There are no thoughts, no perceptions, no dreams, yet upon waking we naturally say, I slept well, or I knew nothing. Who is this I that remained through all three states? According to Advaita, it is the Sākṣin, the witnessing consciousness. That the experiences change, the bodies change, the mind changes. But the witness never changes. This witness is called the Ātman. And with that, Advaita arrives at its boldest teaching. The witness within you is not merely your individual consciousness, it is identical with the ultimate reality itself. The witnessing consciousness is not merely the innermost self of the individual, it is identical with the ultimate reality itself. That ultimate reality is called Brahman. Brahman is of the nature of Sat, Chit, Ananda, absolute existence, pure consciousness, and limitless fullness. It is eternal, changeless, without parts, and unlimited by time, space, or object. This is the reality in which the Upanishads point through the Mahavakyas, the great declarations of Vedanta. Among them is the famous statement Tattvam Asi, that thou art. Its purpose is to reveal that the true nature of the individual self is none other than Brahman. Yet this immediately raises a profound question. If Brahman is alone is the ultimate reality, then how does this world of multiplicity appear? To explain the empirical universe, Brahman associated with Māyā, which is the creative power, is called Īśvara, the omniscient Lord and the material and efficient cause of the empirical universe. Due to its dependence on Brahman, Māyā is also called Brahmasaraya. Māyā is beginningless, constituted by the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and is described as Anirvachaniya, neither absolutely real nor absolutely unreal. The literal meaning of the word is indefinable. Through Māyā, the entire universe of names and forms comes into manifestation. The subtle and gross elements, bodies and world of experience all belong to this empirical order governed by Īśvara. This is also called the Vyavarika reality. Within this universe, the individual experiences is called the Jīva. In essence, the Jīva is none other than Brahman. Yet because of avidya or ignorance, the self is mistaken for the body, senses, mind and intellect. One therefore takes oneself to be a finite individual, subject to birth and death, pleasure and pain, success and failure. This mistaken identification is the cause of bondage. Liberation or Mokṣa is the removal of ignorance through self-knowledge. When ignorance is removed, the seeker realizes that he is Brahman. This ultimate truth is also called the Paramatmika reality. As for why I described Advaita as the most overrated school in Hindu philosophy, here is my reason. Advaita describes avidya as beginningless ignorance and Māyā as the beginningless, indefinable creative power. Yet neither is Brahman. Brahman is said to be without attributes, distinctions, or change. This immediately raises a fundamental question. What is the ontological status of avidya and Māyā? Avidya is said to be the cause of bondage. It veils the true nature of the Jīva, even though the Jīva is ultimately Brahman. If Brahman alone is ultimately real, how can beginningless ignorance play such a fundamental role without compromising non-duality? Describing avidya in relation to Brahman does not answer what it is or at what level it resides in a strictly non-dual metaphysics. Likewise, Māyā is said to be the cause of the entire empirical universe. It is neither independent of Brahman nor an attribute or modification of Brahman, yet it performs the primordial explanatory role of accounting for creation itself. Describing Māyā as dependent on Brahman or calling it Brahmasaraya merely labels the relation. It does not explain the ontological status of Māyā or why such a principle is required at all. The issue is not merely that these two principles possess explanatory power. Together, avidya and Māyā are responsible for nearly all of the diversity of existence, good and bad alike. One accounts for bondage and ignorance, the other for the appearance of the entire universe. They function almost as a quasi-demiurgic principle, bearing nearly the entire explanatory burden of empirical reality, yet their own ontological status remains unresolved. These are not peripheral doctrines, they are the very foundation of Advaita's metaphysics. Yet these apparently genius philosophical moves are also Advaita's wobbly spine. If the foundation is so shaky, the metaphysical system built upon it cannot be regarded as philosophically complete. This is why I regard Advaita as overrated.